Drew, we know that Officer Daniel Pantaleo will not be charged criminally, at least here in New York City for the time being. But what happens to him in terms of his future with the NYPD? Our next guest ultimately holds his future in his own hands.
Police Commissioner Bill Bratton, thank you for being on Good Day New York this morning. What do you think should happen to Officer Pantaleo? Do you think he should be fired?
Well, there are three courses of action that will now occur. Federal government has announced that they're continuing their federal probe. We will now continue our internal affairs investigation. That parallel investigation was pretty much put on hold to the criminal investigation.
I was wondering, because it's been 7 months, so you put that on hold? You weren't investigating during that time?
At the request of the district attorney, that we have not talked to a number of the police officers involved until the criminal investigation is complete. So over the next several days, we'll talk to the remaining officers. Then we will move forward to, in all likelihood, a department trial, where we will look at the issues of violations of department policies and procedures.
How long will this take?
I can't even give you a timeline on that, but it'll be somewhat expeditious.
At one point you called it, I think, an apparent chokehold early in the aftermath. You've looked at it a long time. It's been 7 months. You've been in law enforcement a long time. What does it say to you at this point? You have the information.
Well, I won't speak to any of the specifics because I'll be rendering a final judgment, if you will, after we have the department trial.
Can we ask you about the aftermath, the protests last night? The Brooklyn Bridge shut down, the Queensboro Bridge shut down, West Side Highway, mayhem in Midtown, the Lincoln Tunnel. Last time you said you wanted to give the protesters breathing room, I believe. Are they exceeding the breathing room that you said they could take? Well,
let's put it in perspective. There were 83 arrests made last night. There were no injuries, there was no vandalism, there was no significant violence.
Sir, if somebody stops traffic on the Queensboro Bridge or in the Midtown Tunnel or the West Side Highway, doesn't that pose a public safety threat? Ambulances, emergency vehicles, that kind of thing?
We already have procedures in place to divert those ambulances and fire trucks. That's very carefully coordinated with the Office of Emergency Management. So that's been discussed with the Fire Commissioner. No, we're very comfortable with that. An inconvenience, certainly, for motorists, but
just an inconvenience.
We're not having a Ferguson here, so let's be quite clear about that.
What about the Rockefeller Christmas tree last night? Because there was a lot of talk about they really wanted to shut that down last night and make a national
And it went off without a hitch, didn't it?
Yeah, there were no problems on the air.
There were no problems on national TV. People that wanted to get there to see it got to see it. So, no, we had, by all accounts, a pretty successful evening last night.
The aftermath of Ferguson, again, you had people shutting down the FDR, walking the wrong way in traffic. Motorists, you think they're comfortable with that feeling? Protesters swarming their cars?
Certainly not.
They're not comfortable.
Anytime you have demonstrations, people are not comfortable. What's accomplished by demonstrations sometimes is a mixed bag, certainly. People have a right to demonstrate, that when they get out of hand, that as we did last night, we'll arrest them, 83 of them. But we're not going to engage in mass arrests. One, they're very difficult to do. We are still dealing with lawsuits from mass arrests of many years ago. I still have many of my chiefs giving depositions in federal court as a result of mass arrests. So we're not going to engage in mass arrests where they're not necessary.
What about today? What can we expect today? Because we know there's going to be a big protest in Foley Square.
Well, there'll be big protests continuing. There's one in Foley Square tonight. There are a number of others that various groups, some of the agitators trying to stir up for their particular pet cause. The social media world has dramatically changed demonstrations in this country. We're continuing to adjust to that. Social media works well for us in terms of gathering intelligence, but it also works against us in the ability to quickly gather a group of people someplace.
Commissioner, last night the mayor, your boss, spoke rather emotionally and powerfully about the incident and the aftermath. I want to play a portion from last night's press conference in Staten Island, Mayor de Blasio.
Shirlane and I have had to talk to Dante for years about the dangers that he may face. Good young man, law-abiding young man who never would think to do anything wrong, and yet, because of a history that still hangs over us, the dangers he may face, we've had to literally train him, as families have all over this city for decades, in how to take special care in any encounter he has with the police officers who are there to protect him. And that painful...
We're taking a look at Dante de Blasio right there. We all saw him in the TV commercials. Do you think Dante de Blasio realistically should be afraid of your police department?
No.
What would you advise the mayor?
I don't have to advise the mayor. The mayor basically is speaking as a father. He's entitled to his feelings. He expressed them, I thought, eloquently. So what's wrong with that?
Does the police department, or will the police department, make any changes to kind of repair relations with the community?
Oh, sure. We're doing an awful lot in that regard. We're in the process right now. As a matter of fact, we'll be doing a press conference later today at the Police Academy, showing the 3 days of retraining that we're giving to all of our officers. That will include significant new procedures and protocols about interacting with the public. We have a training advisory committee that has been put together to allow civilian input into the training that we're working on. We're constantly at community meetings. We're in the process of putting body cameras into use in the department.
Yeah, what about these body cameras? Because
Well, actually, before we get to the cameras, because we've had a lot of that over the past couple of days, the community police department divide that the mayor has been emphasizing. You know, when he started campaigning for this job, the approval rating of the police department was over 70%. Mm-hmm. Now, under your watch and under Mayor de Blasio's leadership, and after his campaign, it's hovering around 50%. It seems to have taken a real hit before the mayor started speaking critically of the police department.
Mm-hmm. Well, at the same time, crime is down again this year to historic lows. Murders are at an all-time low. Robberies have never been as low as they are. So even though there's polling that's done about disapproval, this is an extraordinary police department that's delivering what's expected of it. It's no doubt that we are having some issues at the moment around these incidents that we're talking about. But this is a great police department, a great city. It's well policed. And these issues will be dealt with and we'll move forward. But meantime, tourism is up to record highs. Unemployment is up to record highs in the city. This Christmas season will be an extraordinary one. So New York's a great city. We'll deal with the demonstrations. People will be able to vent their frustrations. Shoppers will come. Money will be spent. Jobs will be created. And the police department's approval rating, it goes up, it goes down. My approval rating goes up, it goes down. That's life in the big city.
Let me ask you something. Is there a problem when you have the President of the United States talking about increased accountability between our communities and law enforcement? Is there a problem with the police department and the communities, or is this just pure, plain politics?
There are two issues here. That certainly there is an ability to improve policing in this country. At the same time, in a democracy, there's a mutual responsibility, and that's the civic responsibility of citizens, working with us, not against us, if you will. When an officer is making an arrest, not to resist. In so many of these instances that we're dealing with, resisting arrest. There is a dual obligation in democracy that the citizens have to obey the law. Police officers have to police within the law. So we're in an interesting time in this country right now. In many respects, it mirrors the 60s and the 70s. So
it mirrors the 60s and the 70s?
Mirrors the 60s and 70s, sure.
Tell me more about that. Mayor de Blasio might agree with you, but could you expand on that?
Oh, certainly. We had a time of incredible unrest, anti-war movement, the civil rights movement of the 60s and 70s.
And crime exploded during the 60s and the 70s.
Crime exploded, and crime will not explode in this city. I've been doing it for 40 years. I'm very good at it. Crime is down this year. It'll go down again
Except for
next year.
shootings. We had a double-digit increase in shootings over the summer, as you know, and actually, I think just the other day,
shootings are up by 44. This is the second lowest year in history for shootings. That's one shooting per week in a city of 8.5 million people. 20 years ago, there were 7.5 million people in this city. I'm very comfortable where we are statistically and safety in the city.
Okay, as long as you haven't been shot. But no, we understand. You have kept up the momentum, and the critics...
And the momentum will continue.
Right.
Let me ask you something. What do the men and the women in the police department tell you about their mindset when they go into these high crime areas? Are they concerned for their lives? Are they already on guard? Are they already kind of hyped up because they don't know what's going to happen?
A reflection of the capabilities and qualities of the New York City Police Department and its members is reflected in that this department has one of the best records in America, if not the best, in terms of its minimal use of force. We have some of the lowest number of incidents of taking lives in this country. We have some of the lowest incidents of use of force in making arrests. That's a reflection of the professionalism of the department that's been gained over many, many years through a succession of police commissioners, a succession of mayors. This city is deservedly very proud of its police department. Do we have issues like every other police department? Does this country have issues? It certainly does, and oftentimes the police are in the forefront of trying to address those issues. We'll get through all of this. We've gone through these types of issues in the past.
In the mayor's statement last night, he mentioned marijuana, actually, and that low-level marijuana arrests have been adjusted. You're not as likely to be arrested. I think we have the footage of you holding up that bag of marijuana. It got a lot of people curious about the new policy and, like, just what is the message we're trying to drive home by saying you can have this much marijuana and not be arrested?
Well, the marijuana arrests are down by 61% over the last several weeks since we put that policy into place. We are able to issue desk appearance tickets where people come into court. They're still involved in the process. It's reflective of what the state is moving toward. What we put into place is the same thing that was proposed under Mayor Bloomberg's administration by Governor Cuomo that did not pass in Albany. What we put into place was effectively what most of the leadership in the city for a number of years and in the state has been trying to accomplish.
Is it kind of ironic that we're kind of going a little easy on marijuana and Eric Garner was killed over loose cigarettes?
The issue of quality of life offenses, so-called broken windows, the reason we were there in that square was because of complaints from the store owners in that square. The reason police are very often addressing quality of life issues, look at our 311 calls, look at our 911 calls. We are there because the public want us there to address big complaints, serious crime, and minor complaints, quality of life. So we're there to serve.
Commissioner Bill Bratton, we thank you very much for coming on
Great to be
to
with
New
you.
York.
Happy holidays to you.
You
Indeed.
too, and good luck today with several more protests going on around
We'll have
here.
a good day.
Okay.
All right.
Be right back.
Mm-hmm.